Hey guys, welcome back. Two Brothers Off Script. I'm Jerry.
I'm Ryan.
And this is episode 19.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, alright. We have a good topic tonight, and I know it's going to be a good topic because it was Ryan's week to think of the topic. So, Ryan, what's the topic?
So this week I want to talk primarily about being passive-aggressive. And some people might think that we're being passive-aggressive by talking about this. And
We will not talk about our wives.
no, but there are things that people do.
I mean, I don't mean our wives are passive-aggressive.
I honestly think that everyone is somewhat passive-aggressive. Even my wife. Probably even your wife.
We won't use a specific
That's
example.
not an accusation, but I'm just saying that everyone does
is.
this. And the reason that I say this is because we're all non-confrontational for the most part, and we've talked about this. Is
Sure.
like you really want other people to like you, and you don't want to come off too strong, or you want somebody to accept your leadership. You know, you being a boss and all that. You've got you have to deal with this all the time. It's in what method you actually use to deliver the information that you're trying to get across. And if someone doesn't agree, then you have to take stronger actions. But the other side of things is people will oftentimes say like, hey, I really want us to do this. I would love if we could do this thing. You know, like we need to come together on this. Or we should really get this done is a common one that I hear a lot. And it usually means you. You should go do this thing. You should take the initiative, and you should be the person that gets it done so that we can get the credit, or I can take the credit on the higher end, and you can just be the worker that you're supposed to be. And honestly, no matter who you are, if you ask me to do something for you and you're honest and you give me a reason, I'm probably going to help, you know, like for the most part. But if it's something like...
as long as we're not asking you to help them move.
Well, even then, I mean, you know, what's in it for me, honestly? I'm pretty selfish. So I think that we're all this way because of the non-confrontation thing. So it really comes down to, if you're going to be passive-aggressive and you don't recognize that you're being passive-aggressive, how do you look to other people? And I think for the most part people don't know that they're doing it. It's just like they're used to it. And I thought of this analogy the other day is someone, not to name names, someone put something somewhere. It was like close to the final objective, I would say, but it didn't take that last step. And I mean, it's a common chore at work, or a common responsibility at work, and the person just kind of put it there on the hopes that someone else would finish the job, you know? Sure. And it was just like, I'm just going to put this right here and see if anybody takes care of it, takes the next step. You know, obviously it's part of the duty, so it should be taken care of, but to watch someone do this actively, you know, and then just like walk away like nothing happened, I'm like, I know what you're doing. And I said this, that is a guy who's been married for a long time, because it is the most common thing in the world. Like, I remember right now off the top of my head, an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. They put a suitcase.
Oh yeah, the suitcase.
Suitcase on the stairs, right? And
Yep.
it was just,
Who's
sits
gonna
there
move the
for
suitcase?
7 years or something like that, and
It was weeks.
Yeah, it was forever, but they couldn't figure out who was to blame for this thing. It was just like, it was your job to do it. No, it wasn't. It was.
And then he put some cheese in there.
Something
Nasty.
nasty.
Some nasty cheese in there. And
Very passive aggressive. Like, I'm going to make this hell for you if you don't do the thing.
but I'm not going to take care of it.
I'm not going to take care of it. And it's like, you could save everybody so much trouble just taking on the responsibility and doing the thing yourself. But it's, you know, if you're not familiar with that, you know, episode, then that's exactly the analogy, though. It's put something somewhere on the hopes that your spouse will take care of it. You know, like, I'm going to put the dishes in the sink. That means
That's a signal.
I want you to put them in the dishwasher, or you to wash them, or something like that. For me, I put the dishes in the sink, and on the not to get her to do the dishes, but I was just saying, like, hey, for me, this is where dirty dishes go, because I'm gonna get around to it, hopefully, and I'll put it away. And we kind of try and take turns, and I honestly believe she does it a lot more than I do, and I'm not afraid to admit that. But it's for me, it's not really being passive aggressive. I don't think but I have done things in the past, and I'm sure I'll think of them as we go through this. But that's just kind of the intro here. So,
all right,
do you have?
Yeah, so I have a story. When I was in the Navy, one of the things that happened was I got elected, basically, by my peers in this group to be, they called it the Master at Arms. I was responsible for cleaning up our classroom. And so what happened was the people who put me in that spot thought, oh, you like to tell jokes, and I do like to tell jokes. I like to have fun.
Right.
I like to take boring things and try to make a joke out of them so I can feel more involved. And so I made a lot of jokes, and they thought, okay, well, he makes a lot of jokes, so it'll be fine. Well, then I got in trouble because our classroom wasn't clean enough. And so it switched from happy-go-lucky fun, Jerry, to, hey, we're going to clean this and mop and scrub this floor every single week. And I had a lot of people who were really, really upset with me because now I was abusing my power that they had elected me to have. And so there was a lot of these kind of back and forth actions. Well, the result of that was I ended up doing a lot of the work myself. And I went upstairs one day to where the officers had their classes. They were on a different floor than the enlisted people were. And there was this mound of trash piling over the top of the trash can. And this guy, he walks up as I'm trying to figure out how am I going to, like, it obviously doesn't all fit in the bag, right? How am I going to empty this thing without, and I'm talking like coffee grounds and filters and pop can, like all the stuff that just falls out of a trash bag as soon as you try to move it. And so I'm looking at this thing, I'm start trying to like take it apart, and this guy walks up while I'm there, and he goes, yeah, that's been a mess for like 3 days. I'm glad someone's here to finally clean it up. And he dropped, like, I don't remember, like a tissue or something, like nothing, right? He's like, and then walks off, and I thought I was going to go to jail. I thought, like, in that moment, I'm imagining, like, shaking this person until all his buttons fly off of his uniform, right? He was smaller than me, and he needed it, right? He had never been punched in the face. Because I feel like if you've gotten punched in the face, maybe you're not that big of a jerk to a person who's there trying to help you out. So I figured it out. But to this day, 15 years later, when I see a mounded over trash can and someone, oh, can you get that for me? One more item on top of the pile, and it falls onto the floor, and they're like, oh, you'll get that while you're it's happened to me at work. I think it's happened to me at like 10 different jobs and areas where I work. And I lose my mind. Now, I don't kill anyone, but in my head, I'm like, I'm thinking only revenge.
Right.
And so I consider the people who have done that to me, or done that to whoever was coming behind them, just dropped one more item on the trash can. That's not my job to clean it up. Or I don't feel like it, or I'm tired of doing it, and so if somebody else can, it's fair.
It's oftentimes the same principle with the dishes in a roommate situation. You get like 5 guys and they're all rooming in a 2-bedroom apartment or something like that, and you got 2 people on couches, and it just ends up being this like, well, I didn't do the dishes, so I didn't make a mess, and so I'm not going to clean a mess.
Right.
Or I've done things like I've cleaned it and then I've left a note, like, hey, here's the rules. Please wash your stupid dishes, because I'm not going to take care of it. Or I've thrown away stuff. I've like, hey, you didn't want it, obviously. It was on the ground, so you didn't want it. So I threw away somebody's like left shoe, And
that's pretty passive aggressive.
They're looking around for a week or 2, and they didn't notice it because they got another pair of shoes, but they're just like, I just need this shoe now. And I'm like, I told you guys like 3 months ago you should have picked up your junk. So
Your left
I don't know what happened. Honestly, man, I cleaned my shoes up. I don't know about your shoes, but that's just what happens. Or the dishes, all get broken. Or
I don't know.
I only eat off paper plates for like 6 months, and then grow.
Yeah. Do you know though? Like, I don't understand what gets us to that point, right? Like, I'm sure it's something out of our childhood, or just the way we're raised, or like our particular phobias, or whatever it is. My wife,
you're not allowed to beat people up. That's why.
Sure.
You can't
Vigilante justice is gone.
You can't go around and take cardinal punishment to the max, like, and do physical damage on somebody because they didn't do the dishes.
Right.
It's not appropriate reaction for that situation.
Yes.
Being able to react appropriately is very special, or very important, I should say, for any of these situations. Any confrontation you have in your life where the physical threat doesn't exist, you cannot respond with a physical threat. That's the only way that society can work, because otherwise it would be like, what? You cut me off, I'll murder you. You know, you can't do it. So it seems to happen, though. People will shoot somebody, like the story a couple years back, some guy threw yogurt at some guy's car while they were driving down the highway, and so he pulls out a gun and shoots the car a couple times. Nobody died, but it's like, to go that hot, that fast, just because of something like yogurt on my car, I'm ticked, but it'll come off in a rain, you know. But you don't react in that way if you have time to react.
That's true.
So, like, if you're coming off the heat of the moment, you're going to react hot, and if you give it a minute and you think of it, you're like, I can do this the smart way. I can be sneaky. I can
plot my revenge.
I can plot my revenge, you know, like, and, you know, I don't want to call anybody out, but somebody when I was a lot younger told me the only way to win a fight is with a lead pipe from behind when they're not looking. I think somebody might have told me that. I don't know, but it was like, that's the only way to really win.
There's a finality to that.
All the fights, you know, it's like, all right, I won. There's no way. There's no one
alive in my life anymore, but I've won all of the battles.
So that's the
I'm now
most
in jail.
Extreme, you know, like, you could go hardcore, and
we're not advocating violence, by the way. Please understand that this is not an advocation for violence. We're talking about passive aggressive, not physically aggressive actions.
Do not murder people based on our recommendations, no matter how bad they are.
Please.
So,
but if you think about that, or if you thought about that, leave a note in the comments.
But slash tires.
I did that one time.
Cutting the valve stem off a tire, something like that, it's so aggressive. I guess passive aggressive. You have to just define that. Being aggressive, or being trying to get your way without confronting the person directly, right? So you have a beef with somebody and you say, I'm gonna turn your fridge off or something like that and let all their food go to rot while they're on vacation. Not watering their plants, feeding their dog X-Lax.
That seems like a bad.
You've got all these. I can keep.
I feel like your list is worse than mine.
I haven't done most of these things. I'm just saying. No, most of anything.
So let's break for a second, right? So we know what being passive aggressive is. You guys know what being passive aggressive is. How do you? Let's do two parts here. How do you deal with somebody being passive aggressive to you, right? How do we respond to that? And then how do we prevent ourselves from becoming that person? Maybe we would close with that kind of an ideal.
Okay, so let's start with the first part. How do you deal with the passive-aggressive person? It depends on the situation. It definitely will. If it's a workplace person, you have to think about it like this. No matter how bad I don't like my boss, I'm not saying I don't. I do like my boss. But no matter how bad I don't like my boss, I would do the action even if he was being passive aggressive, because he's my boss. He's in a position of power, and it's my job as a worker who's getting paid to be there to respect his authority. No matter how bad it is, unless he's telling me something that's specifically outside of any safety or whatever parameters, you are obligated to respond. It might be annoying the way that they proceed through the situation and tell you how to do your job, but that is their job. So I usually do whatever it is. You know, I put the trash outside. You know what I mean? Or I find another way around that. But if they are a person in your personal life, confrontation. You have to confront the situation verbally to their face. You have to be upfront with them. You don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to say, like, hey, why'd you do that? You just say, like, hey, this is how I feel about the situation. Not leave a note or on the sink like I did. That's very cowardly in a sense. You got to step up and really, like, say, hey, there's no consequence for your action. Obviously, we're not dealing with life and death here, but you've done something that I find irritating. And if we can't get past this, we might have further things go on, and I'm trying to avoid that and keep this, copacetic. I don't want there to be future passive aggression. If you want me to do something, please tell me, because I will respond in kind. I'll tell you what I do like and don't like, and that's why when somebody is smelly or they got something in their teeth or whatever, or their fly's undone, you can't be like, it's a secret. No, yeah, you gotta tell them, because you might be trying to help them, or you can let them continue to walk around with spinach in their teeth, and that's kind of rude. What was the other part?
So let me react to that as well, right? So the idea of dealing with somebody who's being passive aggressive, I think I wanted to just close off on what you said in terms of the idea when you're dealing with somebody and you're coming into that point of confrontation, right? You've noticed that they've done something, you feel like it's directed at you, you're upset, okay? You have to confront it, but then you've also got to seriously consider, if they don't listen, if they're not, and this can be you're dating somebody, this can be you're friends with somebody, or you've been friends with somebody for a long time, this can be a family member. If you're seeing this happen, and they're not going to respect you when you talk to them about this, when you bring this up as an issue, when you say, hey, I've got a problem with this, you have to examine two things. The first one is, am I being reasonable in my expectation? Right? Because we can be wrong in our expectations. This is reality. We're flawed too. The second one is that we've got to really consider if that person should be in our life or not. Mm-hmm. Right? Because it could be our issue. Like, my wife asked me to take the trash out. That's not her. She's not, and sometimes the trash is overfull. She's not doing that to me.
Right.
To make me feel bad.
Right.
I'm triggered. Well, the buzzword of the minute. I'm triggered by this previous experience that I had that was very frustrating for me. And I think back to the emotions of that time, and those emotions come forward into the present conversation. But my wife's not trying to do something to be mean to me. My wife is doing an awesome job raising a bunch of kids. It's our anniversary, 12 years tonight, 12-year anniversary. And we had a great day together. And so in this process, I have to look at, is my expectation really being reasonable of her? But if you're not in that marriage relationship, or you're not in a serious family relationship where you feel obligated to continue to be with that person, and they say, well, I don't care that you have an issue. I just don't care. That's the way I am. A lot of people will take on an attitude in life that says, well, this is who I am.
Yeah.
You can just deal with it. And when you hear that, I think that that's a form and type of arrogance that it's like a giant warning flag to me.
Right.
Well, this is just the way I am. You can love me or leave me. Right? And I almost always want to default to, cool, thank you for letting me know I'm out.
Yeah.
Right? Because I have expectations of people and the way people are going to treat me, because I got beat up a lot when I was a kid by the kids at school. I got suspended several times for getting beat up. That was that fun period in the early to mid 90s where when you got beat up at school, then you got suspended for having participated in violence in the school place. I won't put up with it. I have boundaries on the way that people are going to treat me. I have confidence in my moral compass. And so I'm not going to put up with somebody being passive aggressive in my life and letting it affect me. The minute it's affecting me, I'm going to say, look, this is my expectation. Let's try to work this out. If we can't work this out, cool, we probably shouldn't hang out anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. We're done. And I'm okay with that because I've known thousands more people than have become my true friends.
Right.
And I've known many thousands of people that are not my family. And I've known many thousands of people that I don't have to work with on a daily basis. And I will be okay at the end of that conversation. So that's how I deal with the passive-aggressive person. So the second part was, how do you not be that person?
Well, I guess I covered that too. It's in order to not be passive-aggressive, you have to really lay your expectations out ahead of time. Like, say, I want you to take the trash out. But to do it in, hey, the trash is getting full, I want you to take the trash out. Instead of letting it become full and just say, like, hey, the trash got full like 2 days ago, you should have taken it out already.
Yeah.
Or to just, it all comes down to being honest with your feelings in the moment. Like, if I'm not necessarily hot, but I'm like, hey, this is going to really bug me in a minute. I see this is happening. You can either be proactive and just deal with it before it ever becomes an issue, because you know the question's going to fall. Hey, would you take the trash out today? It's trash day tomorrow. Then just do it on Wednesday instead of waiting until Thursday. Or, set predefined chores and responsibilities, especially with home life. It's like, if I'm at work and then we have to clean the bathroom, sweep the floors, scrub the floors, clean the forklifts, do all kinds of office cleanup and pick up the trash and stuff like that. All these things are on our chore list, essentially, our daily work list.
Sure.
And they're not broken down by person. They're just left up to whoever, right? So it's up to my boss to assign the chore. But we kind of wait to the end of the day because we're pretty much busy all day long, like working through breaks sometimes even. But if it was predefined, you're doing this today, by the end of the day, please have it done. Then there would be no passive aggressive, like, hey, I told you to do this at the beginning of the day, but you didn't get it done, so now I'm just going to kind of like put it on your plate and let you see that it's supposed to be done. So all that could be just be upfront with expectations.
I think that's right.
Before the person can ever make you mad or make you feel like they're being passive aggressive, they should have set up the expectations for me, if that's the responsibility, and I should maybe try to be more proactive for things that I know, like I should do the dishes instead of waiting till it's the end of the time.
Right, like I should get the trash cleaned out. Like my wife has asked me, hey, can you take the trash out every day? And the reality is I forget. I didn't prioritize it. I didn't think of it at that moment. And so now it's built up.
One blown out trash bag is all it takes.
Oh, it's so painful.
And then you got to clean it up. And you didn't
painful.
save yourself any time by switching the bag out early.
I know.
So
it's horrid.
I think we've hopefully we've covered some of this, and like it feels to me like we're not being passive aggressive here. This isn't an attack on anyone we know.
It's really about, we want our show to be about trying to communicate that there are solutions to these things that we often, as a society, we don't get to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, we just don't sit down generally with our spouses, our loved ones, our friends, our family. We don't generally sit down and talk about being passive aggressive. We just don't. There's a lot of these topics that we've covered that are kind of like the things that we feel strongly about, but we haven't really gotten.
I don't want to say we're like self-help or anything.
We're not.
But we all feel this way. I think in most part, all of us in our daily lives feel this way. And that's why we're going to keep talking about the things that matter. So if you like what we've got to say, then, subscribe, like it, comment, share it with your friends on Facebook or something.
Yeah.
Most of you know us personally, and those of you that don't, get the word out, because we're just going to keep doing this anyway. So, when we go viral, you'll see it anyways, and you'll probably like it then just because we're all sheeple, right? So
that might have been passive aggressive.
That might have been passive aggressive. Like, one way or another, you're going to come back to our channel. So
thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a great week.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.